going to talk about 10 habits of a super sales superstar. Habits of a sales superstar, secrets to sales success. I'm Ryan Dohrn from Brain Swell Media, and thanks so much for being a part of our training today. Well, we're looking forward to a great new year, and it makes a ton of sense to me that we would start with a topic just like this, because we really want to make sure that our sales reps are jazzed, are pumped, and ready to go into the new year and into the first quarter with a ton of pizzazz, a ton of excitement, ready and fired up, ready to go. So let's knock through these habits, and these habits come, the 10 of them come from various studies that I've put together. Some of them from Tony Robbins Institute, some from Stephen Pia at Coach Media, some from the Dale Carnegie Institute, some from Sandler Training Systems. And so it's like those comedians that take the best jokes, put them all together to have one really, really great comedy show. Well, I've just taken a lot of great habits from books and things that I've read, put together, and hopefully this will get your salespeople charged up. So make sure you share it with them. First thing is that sales is a numbers game. Now, I know that we all know that theoretically, but the thing to remember about this and to point out to your team, and if you're a salesperson that's watching this training today, is that you need to understand that, and you need to know your conversion rate, and use this number to make the correct number of calls to make it. So, for example, if you close 1 in 20, okay, your monthly goal is 20, then that means that you're going to need to make 400 calls next month. So sales superstars are going to make a ton of phone calls. Now, a lot of you might say, okay, Ryan, listen, I've been doing this a long time, and call volume is only as good as the quality of the call that you make. And while I do agree with you and I do understand where you're coming from, sales is a numbers game. It's a relationship game. You do need to build quality relationships with people. But you know how many no's it takes to get to a yes. Then you get several no's, to just keep rocking forward, because the next no you get, okay, is one no closer to a. Now, granted, if you try to say that 20 times fast, you're going to have a lot of trouble. The basic premise is this. It's not a numbers game. You make a ton of phone calls. Now, let's talk about something for a second, because a lot of you are thinking that it's okay to sell via email. Why do most people sell via email? Well, it happened to be in that millennial group between the ages of 25 and, say, 32 years old. You're raised on email. So email is as good to you as a phone call. Well, the thing, Trevor, is the sales superstars that I work with are folks that tell me that while they do close as much as 70% of their sales via email, the majority of their selling, the vast majority of their selling, is actually done on the phone, done in person, whether that be in meetings, at trade shows, events, networking. The majority of their selling is done in person, face, or on the phone. Now, one of the things I want to share with you time and time again is when we come across something that works, what we do is we want to simply rinse and we want to repeat. Now, while that does sound very, very simple, it's very often forgotten. And when you talk about sales superstars, and I work with a lot of them, I like to take the knowledge that I glean from them and use it myself. And the thing that I've learned, while I do want to make quality phone calls, I need to make a ton. First slide, and to reiterate this first point, this first habit of highly effective superstar salespeople, is that you have to know your conversion rate. You want to get that conversion rate as finely tuned as possible. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Ryan, it's just sales. Talk to a lot of people, make a lot of calls, it'll all happen for you. Well, if you do follow that philosophy, you'll probably have some moderate success. For example, if Tiger Woods just went on the golf course and swung the club, he's got some pretty good success. Why? Because he's a really good golfer. You're a good salesperson. But if Woods has a plan, if he practices a lot, he can take the born, God-given talent that he has and then really turn that into a win. you. Sure, you can make a ton of phone calls. You can send out a bunch of emails. You can be very random and be very willy-nilly about it. But if it takes you, say, 6 calls to get to a meeting and then meetings to close, then you know exactly in any given month how many calls you need to make, how many meetings you need to have. And when you understand that number, it can be very comforting. I mean, it can be a number that you can not only wrap your head around, but you can wrap your hands around, your heart around, your schedule around it, because you'll know, gosh, I've only made 30 calls. I need to make 70 if I'm even going to come close to making budget. If you're sitting there today and you're a salesperson, you've made 3 or 4 phone calls and thought that you've had a really great day and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, let me tell you something. I've worked with literally hundreds of salespeople over my career, and I coach a ton of them today. I work with over 55 publishers and major sales teams. There's one consistent factor amongst all of the sales superstars I work with. They have high call volumes, and they have a ton of meetings. So this is a number game. Know the numbers. Habit number 1. The second, number 2, always be prospecting. Now, if you haven't had a chance to watch that old sales movie, Glenn Ross, make sure that you take a couple seconds to watch it, because it's pretty funny and very telling about the sales game. I was saying in there, it's always be closing. Well, that's great too. But I want to encourage you to always be prospecting. What are you doing today, or what are you going to do today to clients? Is it LinkedIn? Is it going to a lunch? Is it looking through the yellow pages? Is it scouring press releases? Is it going to your Rotary Club? Are you a member of any particular Rotary clubs or country clubs or anything like that? Always be prospecting. The thing about sales is you're always on. Every person you potentially meet is a customer. I think about this in my role, because I do sell media each and every day, but I also have to sell the services that I offer. And that I get on a plane to make a trip, I always want to make sure that I ask the first question of the person sitting next to me. What is that? Because I want to be a chameleon. I want to be able to morph myself to be the best person that I can be for that individual, because they might be a potential customer of mine. You might buy in. That's a little kind of a little fruity, maybe a little over the top. See, it's not. It's not at all. Because every time you walk through your local Lowe's or Walgreens or go to a restaurant or go to a hockey game or a baseball game, you never know in the sales business when you're going to meet one of your potential customers for your magazine, your newspaper, your publication, or your media company. Now, does that mean you always have to be on your best behavior? Well, I suppose, yeah, it does in a lot of circumstances. But what I'm going to say more is I really want you to get into a sales mindset. I really think about what you can do to be the best salesperson you can be. And it starts with always be prospecting. Now, let's pause for a second, because people that they just are never off. I mean, they never, ever off. And quite honestly, that can get to be pretty annoying as well. So I'm not encouraging you to be wacky, crazy, Mr. Sales or Mrs. Salesperson 24/7. I just want you to understand the mindset that superstar salespeople have. Now, let me take you back to that airplane seat that I just sat on, okay? Or maybe you're sitting next to somebody at lunch, or you're on a bus in a city, or you're at a networking lunch or something like that. The reason I like to ask the first question is because there's a lot of things that I do. I want to find out what they do first so that I can present to them the best part of my business. See, ask me first, the first question. I'm always on the offense. I'm always, on the defense. I never have a chance to score, because I'm always playing back to them. They've hit me the ball. I've got to hit it back. I want to hit them the ball. Remember, point number 2, always be prospecting. Now, forward, the next thing is something I learned from a guy named Stephen Pia. Great sales trainer, great salesperson, and his company is called Coach Media. And one of them shared a long time ago, many years ago actually, and he still teaches it today, is that you need to become a meeting maniac. And what that means is you need to have a ton of meetings. Now, Ryan, that's very intuitive. Thank you for sharing. great little refresher course, I need to have a lot of meetings to close sales. Well, the thing to remember about it is that no matter how many times I say it, come into your office right now and say, okay, so this week, how many meetings do you have set? In most circumstances, they're going to be 3, maybe 4. If you know your close ratio, if you know your call to meeting ratio, then your meeting to close ratio, let's just say that you close 1 out of every 4. Well, you only have 4 on the calendar. So that means based on your own ratio, you're only going to be able to close 1 deal this week. Well, that's just enough. Now, well, Ryan, I mean, how many hours in the day do you expect, to give to my job? I expect you to give your 150% every day that you're there, and to work all of your hours that you're expected to work. Expect that what you're going to do is every single opportunity that you have, before work, during work, and after work, you're going to set as many meetings as possible to make things happen. And I expect you to be the best husband you can be, or wife or girlfriend you can be. But you've got a job to do, and your job is to sell media, and it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody be doing it. I mean, think about those jobs. There's a lot of jobs that don't require a ton of skill. They don't require really even a ton of patience. They just require you to show up. Now, granted, showing up is half the battle, and I encourage you to at least show up. But the other part of it is that, guys, you've got to understand, you've got to show up with enthusiasm. You've got to show up with power. You've got to show up with passion. You've got to be ready to do this job. Media sales isn't easy, but guess what? It's a ton of fun. You're working for a great brand. You're working for a great name, a great publisher. You're getting a lot of recognition. People know who you work for. It's really, really rewarding. Also, you can make cash. And if you're a meeting maniac, you're going to make your goal, which means that you're going to make the money that you want to make, to buy the things that you need or your family needs. Face-to-face meetings, as we spoke of just a couple seconds ago, are always the best. But what it comes down to is you need a ton of meetings. So, Ryan, what is that number? Is there a magic number? Well, there actually isn't, because if you are working for some bigger magazines, you might only need 2 meetings a week, close both of those deals, and meet your goal. But most of you that are involved in the training that I offer are typically not working for a top 500 consumer magazine. Most of you are working for smaller niche publishers, and I love you for that. Niche publications are my heart and are my passion, and you need a ton of meetings. In most cases, most of the folks I'm working with are closing 2 out of 10. So 10 meetings, either in face or on the phone, to close the deal. And you might say, well, Ryan, wow, that's not a tremendously good, close ratio. Well, we want to work to have about a 50% close ratio. When you finally get to a meeting, we want to close about half of those folks. And in my opinion, that's a really great number. The thing to remember about habits, okay, so this is our third one, about habits, is you need to become a meeting maniac. You need to set, hold, and host a ton of meetings. Now, those meetings actually should be formal meetings. You don't want to meet with somebody just kind of willy-nilly at an amusement park when you see them there with your family, okay? You want to set those meetings, have an agenda, rock through those meetings, be passionate during those meetings, and get people excited about your product, okay? Become a meeting maniac. All right, next habit, never-ending energy. Every superstar media sales rep that I know has never-ending energy. I'm literally like the Energizer Bunny. Well, Ryan, I know a lot of salespeople that are very good, that are mellow, that are extremely meek. Well, I'm saying you shouldn't be meek. I'm just saying that you need to have a lot of energy, because people buy from me for a couple reasons. One, I think they like me, but the other is I'm contagious. The passion I have is contagious about the products that I'm selling. I am unbelievably passionate about it. How do you expect people to buy something from you if you're not passionate about it? Somebody once said, I think you could sell ice cubes to an Eskimo. And I said, it's because of my passion. It's because of my charisma. Well, is that something you can teach me? I said, gee, yeah, absolutely. Just excited now and again. Just get excited now and again. Walk around with a smile on your face, almost 24/7. Eating, exercising as often as possible. Getting yourself in good mindsets. Listen to some rock and roll music rather than that typical waltz you listen to on the way to work, okay? Get excited, be excited, have tons of energy. what makes you happy. Learn what makes you feel good. Learn what makes you upbeat. Embrace those things that put you into a good mood. Maybe you're a morning person, so you should make all your sales calls first thing in the morning. Maybe you're not a morning person, so you should make it in the afternoon. Figure out the time of day that's best for you. Superstar salesperson, you need to have never-ending energy. And I'll add to that, you need to have personal passions about projects, okay, or locations that you're pitching. Okay, that's a ton of P's, isn't it? Personal passion about the products or publications that you're pitching. Say it 10 times fast, okay? It'll make you laugh if nothing else. Of superstar salespeople, call sheets and call list discipline. So how do you track your calls, and what do you do to have great calls and keep up with those calls? Well, let me give you an example, because I think it's really important for me always to share with you concrete things that have worked for me and clients in the past. I knew a woman. Her name is Mary, and she was always a really, really great rep. I mean, she was a good sales rep, very, very good. I asked myself, what can we do to get Mary to go from good to great? In case there's a Mary on the call, I worked with a lot of Marys, so I'm not singling anybody out, okay? Now remember, she was good. What were we going to do? What were we going to do to get her to be great, okay? Well, we got her in touch with a customer relations management system. And at that particular time, it was Salesforce.com. Currently, a lot of my customers use Magazine Manager, okay? And a lot of folks use HighRise. A few use Google's Insightly product. There's an Insightly product that syncs up with your Google account. Now, what is a CRM? It's a customer relations management tool. It's to be able to put contacts into the database. Also allows you to email them directly from the database. It logs all of those emails. It allows you to put your calls and your call notes into customers, and it also allows you to set tasks. Now, maybe later on we could actually have a webinar all about using a CRM tool to its maximum effectiveness. But what if I told you this? What if I told you that a few weeks ago, Mary's CRM system went down? It was lost. She said, oh my gosh, Ryan, I had no idea how heavily I now relied on my CRM tool. It's literally my sales Bible. I said, why? What's going on? She said, I don't know what to do today. All of my tasks are in there. My contacts are in there. All of my dialogue with my customers, all my important dates. And I said, wow, Mary, what a change. She said, if you think that's a change, how about the fact that my calls, okay, my call-to-close ratio is the smallest it's ever been. How about the fact that my sales have grown 25%, and the only thing I'm doing different is using the CRM tool and using it effectively. You use an Excel file, or you actually use a CRM tool like HighRise or something like that, what you understand is you have to create discipline. You have to stop relying upon you to remember things. You're a smart guy, and there's a lot of pretty smart people on this webinar today. But remember something. It's literally impossible in the day and time that we have to remember everything. And that's why it's so important for you CRM tool. What's going to happen is as you set tasks to follow up and call people, what will happen is just like it happened to me this morning. I came in and I had 8 or 10 tasks or reminders to call people back. And because of that, I went through a couple of them. One gentleman was from Australia. I would have forgotten to call him back had I not used that CRM tool. Okay? I recently was working with a gentleman named Matt on the West Coast. Actually sent 12 different emails and several phone calls to him before he replied. The tool kept me on task, helped me what I had sent them previously. Tools will become your go-to resource as you grow to be a superstar salesperson. Another example. There's a gentleman I worked with. His name was Matt, and Matt used his CRM tool to the 100th degree. He actually put all of his deals in the CRM tool so he could actually manage what it is that he was working on in terms of which deals were closest to close, and then call those people. You know, tools are awesome. So whether you're using an Excel spreadsheet or you're using a software tool, you need some type of call list to work from. If you're using a notebook, your heart for using the notebook, because I still use a ton of notebooks. But here's the thing to remember. You need to get out of that notebook. You need to get onto something electronic. It's proven time and time again that if you use a CRM tool, you will have greater sales success. And feel free to reach out to me. I can teach you how to use those tools. I can help you use those tools better. But trust me, you need to have a CRM tool if you want to be a superstar salesperson. Next habit of highly effective salespeople or superstar salespeople, asking the critical questions. Now, if you know what those are, what you may want to do is reach out to me, and I'll send to you a free PDF called The 10 Critical Sales Questions. Great salespeople, they talk 20% of the time. They have the rest, and they listen. Questions to ask. Maybe you're new to the sales game, or maybe you're a veteran and you're thinking, well, gosh, maybe there's some questions that I need to ask. No problem. Reach out to me. I'll send you those 10 critical questions absolutely free of charge, no obligation, and no sales pitch, because I want you to use them. I want you to be a huge success. The big thing is you need to ask a ton of questions. What do most media salespeople do? They spend the majority of their time talking about their media company or what they do at their media company. Whether you're a newspaper, a radio station, TV station, magazine, doesn't matter. All most salespeople do is spend a great majority of the phone call or talking about the features, advantages, and benefits of their media or the media they have to offer. Superstar salespeople ask a ton of really great questions. Why do you want to ask these questions? You want to ask these questions because you answer the needs and meet the needs of your customers. If you meet their needs, or if you exceed their needs, what are they going to do? They're going to renew with you. That's why you want to ask the critical questions. Also, what happens when you ask critical questions is very often you discover new things, new issues, new problems that you, as a company, have a solution for. It happens time and time again. Salespeople go back to kindergarten. Why do you go back to your kindergarten tactics? The reason is simple. Things were in kindergarten. Things were easier. To the simplest point that you can bring up, and that is, I know everything there is to know about my media company or the publications or what we have to offer. That's why I talk about it the most. I'm not comfortable asking questions. Well, you know what? You need to get comfortable if you want to be a superstar. I know you can do it. Knows that you can do it. You know that you can do it. So what do you need to do? You just need to practice. So reach out to me. I'll send you those 10 critical questions. Understanding 3D sales. And 3D sales, guys, is really, really simple. It's very, very simple. It's a three-legged stool, okay? First of all, you have to identify the problem that your advertiser is facing. Whether the problem with sales, customer acquisition, whatever it is. Second, you determine how much money they have to fix the problem. And there's a multitude of questions to ask. Third, you, as a or media company, or public, whatever your role is, okay, you need to set a success meter in place because they are not going to track the leads that come from you. Most often at the end of a campaign is that I'll call somebody. Well, it doesn't happen to me because I don't let this happen, but what happens to a lot of you, at the end of the campaign, you'll call for a renewal. You'll say, your ad's up. We'd love to get you in the next issue. What do you think? Well, Ryan, the ad didn't work so good for me. First of all, if that's the first time you've heard of it, you failed as a salesperson. You should be calling people mid-campaign to see how it's going. Secondly, you set a success meter in place. What needed to happen? What needed to happen for that advertiser to renew again with you? They need to sell 5 mountain bikes. You'll be asking every other day, how you doing on those sales? Now, granted, you can't sell for them. I understand. But you at least be able to figure out a way to help them track the leads coming from you. Superstar salespeople know this. Identify the problem, fix that problem, and 3, put a success meter in place to track the success of the campaign for their advertiser. If they don't, the advertiser will not do it for themselves. Next, do you know your unique value statement? Do you know what makes your media company, publication, whatever, different from everybody else? Or are you just another magazine in the market, just another media company or media outlet in the market? You need to come up with what Carl Landau, a good friend of mine, Niche Media, refers to as your UVS. Carl's taught several thousand salespeople throughout his career, and he calls it his UVS, his unique value statement. What is it? This isn't something that's built around puffery terms, okay? It's a fact. We are the number one magazine to reach adults over 65 in the Toronto market. Is that true? Are there any statements in there? What makes you unique, and how do you share that with people? A lot of folks would refer to this as their elevator speech, okay? Your elevator speech is, how can you talk about a magazine and what you have to offer in basically less than 10 seconds? What are your unique value statements, your UVS? Can you write it down? With me right now? A lot of you think you can, but it's too long. Whatever you're saying is just too long, okay? What is your unique value statement? What sets you apart from everybody else in your market? What is it? Write it down. Make it a part of your life, your UVS. Now, we talked about it a little bit before, so we're not going to spend much time on it. So our salespeople know that email does not sell. Email is great for anything, really not for closing business. You might wrap up the details, okay, with email. Do some follow-up with email. Remember something. Email typically does not sell. Now, if you had good success using email to sell the media that you have to offer, whether you're a newspaper or magazine or a website, okay? You had good success, good for you. But I think you're probably going to continue to have good success, average or better than average success. If you want to be a superstar, if you want to take your sales to the next level, you've got to believe me. You've got to believe, okay? You've got to believe that email is not the best selling tool. It's a tool. It's an effective tool, but it's not the tool, in air quotes. The tool is your mouth, face-to-face, on the phone, talking with people, building relationships. How many relationships do you know that worked out were built on email alone? If you meet somebody on Match.com, which I happen to have two friends that met on Match.com, happily in love, been married for a few years, even they went beyond email and got on the phone. Why? Because email is just not enough. You can't capture the tone, the emotion, the passion. Guys, if you want to sell more than anything else, if you want to be a crazy superstar salesperson, you need some passion. You need to find you happy. You need to get those things in your life taken care of that have put you down. You need to be passionate about sales. You know, I'm calling into the company, and they just, one of the things that they said was, it's a great day. Thanks so much for calling. How can I help you? That's the way that you want to start your day. Change your voicemail and end your voicemail message with make your day. Be happy. Get excited. Super salespeople understand rejection. Okay? Remember we talked about our call to close ratios at the beginning of this training? Well, understanding rejection basically means you know that each no is one closer to a yes. You also can better understand how to handle those no's and not take them personally. Typically, cases, the person on the other end of the line doesn't even know you, and that's the problem initially. You have to become a known entity to them. Remember something, a rejection just is, okay, well, I need 6 no's to get to a yes, so let's knock them out. Let's get through those no's, okay? Now, that doesn't, again, mean that you want to make 6 bad phone calls just to get a no, all right? It's about being a numbers game, but understanding that if you know your close rate, rejection is really no big deal. The other thing is, how do you handle rejection? Basically, anything that a prospective advertiser can throw you can return back to them. You can volley back to them one of the critical questions. Okay, so let's say, for example, that the most common objection you get is probably, listen, our budget is already allocated or spent for the year. That's probably the one I get the most? And my answer is, oh, okay, well, what are you doing to track that success so that I'll know when to call you if it is or if that advertising is or is not working? What are you doing to track the success? And building relationships. But see, I know what rejection is all about. I understand it. I understand that I have to talk to a lot of people. I am going to get a lot of no's before I get a yes. Superstar salespeople understand rejection. They embrace it. They don't let it down, but honestly, they just move on. You know, looking at the year ahead of you, as you're looking at the quarters ahead of you, one of the things to remember is you need to develop really, really good habits. You know, I love golf analogies because it is one of the things I enjoy doing with my sons and doing with my dad is play golf. And golf is a lot of what they refer to as muscle memory. You know, pulling the club back, your muscles actually have a memory to them, and you're training your muscles to react in swinging that golf club. That's one habit. Doctors say that you are more successful as a person when you get plenty of sleep. What's the best way that sleep specialists say what you should do to get the best sleep possible? Either when you're tired or at the same time. Set up a schedule. Think of kids that you know that are well-disciplined children, and they're well-disciplined because they have discipline in their lives. Anybody that's a superstar athlete is usually a very disciplined person. They train all the time. See, all of us are born with some natural God-given talents and gifts, and we can use those to the best of their advantage, especially if we train on them. You know, there's a lot of people that I've met that you might hear at church or whatever, and they're pretty good singers, and some of them actually went through formal training would just be, wow, I mean, phenomenal. Here's something, if you're sitting there today and you think, you know what, salesperson, I think I do a pretty good job. I want to challenge you to look at your life and look at your habits in regards to your selling career. What can you do to tweak those habits to be the very best that you can be? You, too, can be a superstar salesperson. Think about it. Write down the things you're doing good, what you're doing bad, and then don't just wait for January 1st to make some New Year's resolutions. Make those resolutions right now to become a superstar salesperson or within your media company. For all of you all throughout this year that you participated in these webinars through Shweiki Media, remember, as a partner of Shweiki, just like you, I'm a partner as well. And anything we can do for you at Brain Swell Media in 2012 to help you, we are here to help. And we always offer you a 25% discount as a Shweiki customer. And never forget, because of my relationship with Shweiki, I'll always offer you, our first call together is always absolutely free. A $225 value to you. I'd love for you to take advantage of that. I'll work with your salespeople, at least one call, absolutely free of charge. And I really want to thank Shweiki, thank all of you participating all throughout the year, and we look forward to a great 2012. Happy holidays, everybody.